All rise.
I like the judge's picture. All right, you seated. Since that night.
I had to leave out of the
Yeah. I know.
and I had to pack the book that next
And you told me you were about to head out to the big city. Mr. Barr, what do you have this time?
Good morning, Judge.
Morning.
I have Mr. Charles James today, and we're here with an agreement with the state.
I'm Charles Timms from St. Michael's.
Yes, sir.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I need to get Kathy to come in here for this one. All right.
Your Honor, please Charles Timms on two indictments. One is 2021 GS 45-150, which he's pleaded guilty to one count of violation of a permanent restraining order and 2 counts of stalking. The other is 2021 GS 45-113. He's pleading guilty to 1 count of failure to stop for a blue light. He is represented by William Virgil Barr, the Williamsburg County Bar. The state's recommendation in this case is a 3-year active sentence to run concurrently all charges. And the victims are present in the courtroom.
All right. 3 years active. Is that right, Mr. Barr?
Yes, sir, Your Honor, that is correct. I have I've had several discussions with Mr. Timms. I apologize, Mr. Timms, for getting his name wrong. I've had several conversations with him about the charges, about the direction of the case. We do believe this plea is in his best interest. I've gone over with him in detail the exact charges, the elements associated with those charges, and what the solicitor or the state would have to prove in order for him to be found guilty of those charges. Based on all of those conversations, he has agreed to accept the state's recommendation. I'm in agreement with the other document I'd like to have to make part of the record. And
What would you make part of the record?
the conversation, reduced our conversation to writing, Your Honor, as far as the conversation with Tim, as far as the plea, the charges, representation.
Now, violating a permanent restraining order, isn't that like almost automatic 3 years?
Well, Your Honor, the state will get into the facts, but
I mean, the law.
yes, sir, Your Honor, you
Do
would.
you all have a copy of the restraining order?
I do, Your Honor, it's right here.
Permanent restraining order signed by Judge. Person, the respondent who is in violation of a permanent restraining order is guilty of a felony if the underlying conviction that was the basis for the restraining order was a felony, and upon conviction must be in prison not more than 5 years. If the underlying conviction that was the basis of the permanent restraining order was a misdemeanor, the respondent who is in violation of a permanent restraining order is guilty of a misdemeanor, and upon conviction must be fined not more than $2,000 or in prison not more than 3 years or both. So that's, he's pleading guilty to violating the permanent restraining order of the misdemeanor.
As part, yes, Your Honor, as part of the overall agreement.
Right. So, Mr. Timms, you've heard what Mr. Barr stated and the solicitor stated. And do you want to waive your right to the jury trial and plead guilty to these charges?
Yes, sir.
Are you guilty of all these charges?
Yes, sir.
Now, the number of charges I have here, the failure to stop for blue light carries up to 3 years. Stalking carries up to 5 years. violating a restraining order carries up to 3 years, and another stalking carries up to 3 years. Do you understand that?
Yes, sir, from what my attorney said, yes, sir.
So now these are recommendations by the state as to what the sentence should be. They want me to give you a 3-year sentence for all of these crimes. Is that your understanding?
Yes, sir.
You understand that I do not have to follow the recommendation?
Yes, sir.
The ultimate sentence is up to me.
Yes, sir.
Are you on probation or parole now?
No, sir.
And you said you're guilty of all these things,
Yes, sir.
and you want to plead guilty?
Yes, sir, I would like to speak to
Well, I'm not, I have to hear from everybody.
Yes, sir.
Solicitor, the victim, the lawyer, and you.
Yes, sir.
And I just need to know if you want to plead guilty.
Yes, sir.
All right. Yes, sir. Mr. Anderson?
And Your Honor, this timeline starts in December 2020 when that restraining order was put into place. The primary victim in this case is Ms. Angelica Canty. She had a brief period of marriage to Mr. Thames and married about 2 weeks. She realized...
She was married for 2 weeks.
That's right, Your Honor. And that relationship deteriorated. She realized the person that she was in love with wasn't the person that she married. She began to separate from Mr. Thames. A domestic violence...
Mr.
Thames, I apologize. A domestic violence situation in another county resulted in that restraining order being put in place. Immediately after that, she began to get extremely disturbing phone calls from Mr. Timms. I called her, and she had wherewithal to record them when he did call her. He said things like, "I promise you I'm going to kill you. I promise you I'm going to shoot you in the head." And I'm ending up profanity. "I'm going to F you up when I see you. You better not let me see you in the street. I'm going to get you and Billy Mitchum." That's the other victim in the other stalking case, Your Honor.
Billy Mitchum?
That's right. He's the victim in the other stalking cases.
Is he a new boyfriend or something?
Mr. Thames believes he is, but that is an incorrect assumption.
Okay.
Your Honor, those calls continued. Ms. Canty also observed, or excuse me, Mr. Mitchum also observed, got similar phone calls from Mr. Thames threatening him and his family. Mr. Thames also, he believes Mr. Thames bashed the windows out of one of his vehicles. All of this accumulated in April of 2021 when Ms. Canty said, "He's calling me and he's saying he's in my yard." Law enforcement went out there and were looking in the area where all this happened. Were able to find Mr. Thames in a vehicle. They activated the blue light siren and he took them on a chase for several miles, where he ultimately wrecked into the ditch and they were to get him out and take him into custody. But the harassment and intimidation did not end there, Your Honor. He began to call Ms. Canty from the jail phone, and of course those calls were recorded as well. In those jail calls, he threatens both Ms. Canty and Mr. Billy Mitchum several times. There's 14 calls, and he threatens them or talks about bad things happening to them in 10 of the 14 calls. Your Honor, the victims are here. They're terrified of Mr. Thames. One of the things that struck me was he told her on jail calls, "The police can't stop me from hurting you." That's what he told her. And that's why we're here, and that's why this case was on trial.
Are all those facts true, Mr. Timms?
Your Honor, on my behalf, even after the restraining order, my brother, they can tell you that me and her still been together. We even had, when we living in Seaman on Myrtle Beach, but she used it.
We're going to get to all that part. I'm going to have to hear from her first, and your lawyer.
All right.
I need to know is what the solicitor said true.
Some of it is true.
Tell me the part that's not true.
Part that's not true is about us only being married 2 weeks.
How long were you married? Well, how long were you all together after you got married?
We were together off and on. She came back and forth between me.
I'm talking about before you separated. You got married got married at the church?
No, we got married at Henry Hand.
And where?
Henry Hand, the funeral home.
Got married at the funeral home. WC married you?
Sir.
WC Henry Hand was the one who married you?
Yes, sir.
And how long did y'all stay together before you separated?
Well, she was back and forth.
Well, first, to go back and forth, first you got to leave.
All right, so
How long was it before she left?
I think in like December 19.
You got married on what day?
We got married September 23rd.
So she was there for about 3 months.
Yes, sir.
All right, go ahead.
All right.
What else is not sure other than how long y'all were together before
All right.
separated?
Even after that restraining order,
Right.
she came to the beach and she got we had got basically like a park in her name, in Siemens 12 South. They still had that on file. So it's a lot of these things that, and as far as her saying,
But I need to know about the crimes, like the failure to stop for a blue light.
the failure to stop at blue lights.
You guilty of that?
Yes, sir.
The stalking. It says from December 2020 to May 2021, you were threatening her life, safety, and et cetera, repeatedly contacting her, even though you had a restraining order against you. Is that true?
We both contacted each other. Yes, sir.
And she didn't have a restraining order against her, you had one against you.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And you were contacting her.
Yes, sir. And
Then Billy Mitchum, who's that?
yes, I assume I don't even know how he looked. I assume he lived down the street from me. I assume that's him right there in the court. I don't even know how he looked.
I don't know if it's him or not. I don't know who he is over there.
That's Billy Mitchell.
Well, you're guilty of stalking Mr. Mitchum. The indictment says that you engage in a pattern of words, whether verbal, written, or electronic, or a pattern of conduct that serves no legitimate purpose and is intended to cause and does cause a targeted person and would cause a reasonable person to fear for their life, safety, or the safety of their family by repeatedly contacting him and threatening to harm him. Did you do that?
Yes, I did the things I shouldn't have.
Now I gotta get a yes or a no.
Yes, sir.
All right. But all the reasons I can get later on.
I got you.
Okay. So you've admitted to being guilty of all these crimes.
Yes, sir.
All right. What else, Mr. Anderson?
Your Honor, I've had Mr. Timms' rap sheet here. 2001, he was convicted of common law robbery.
Who did you rob?
That was me and another guy, and that was number 716. I can't
I
remember.
remember when you first started coming here.
Yes,
I
sir.
said, who did you rob? I forgot the victim.
Oh, that was in Florence County.
No, okay.
Okay.
I remember when you first came here.
Yes, sir.
Your Honor,
What's your first Williamsburg case?
and I don't know if this is the first Williamsburg case, but his next criminal offense is in 2001, an armed robbery. He has a 2005 possession of cocaine, 2008 grand larceny, as well as a criminal domestic violence. A 2008, another possession of cocaine base.
Well, I remember a similar case, sort of like this, when he was on the loose about something.
Absolutely, Your Honor. That would be his last conviction. One moment, I'll find it. It is I know that you gave him the maximum sentence on failure to stop for a blue light before.
Okay.
It was in the year 2015. It was pointing and presenting a firearm and a failure to stop for a blue light, and you gave him the maximum sentence. But he has other crimes between here and there. Possession of cocaine, another possession of cocaine, an assault and battery second, criminal domestic violence, first degree under the old law, possession of intent to distribute a controlled substance, the pointing and presenting the failure to stop we just discussed, domestic violence second, another possession of intent to distribute a controlled substance, and a possession of marijuana.
When did you decide you just wanted to be a criminal?
I don't want to be a criminal, Your Honor. I was working and et cetera, et cetera. My heart just was caught up in my wife.
How old are you now?
I'm 37, Your Honor.
So you started out, and what's your first year you gave him? 37 now.
01.
01.
I was
That was 20 years ago.
I was 16 years old, and
16.
I was with this older fella, and that was a whole other situation. I was had
It's
bad.
verifying your record right now. I still got to go through the lawyer and the victim and everybody.
Yes, sir.
Are we ready for the victim?
Yes, Your Honor.
Victims.
Ms. Campbell. Ms. Campbell, tell the judge how you feel about it. Your Honor, this is Angelica Campbell.
Pull your mask down, Ms. Candy, so I can hear you a little better.
I met when I met him, it just seemed like everything was okay, because I really didn't get to see what was going on within a week's time. It just seemed like he was a nice person, which it was a mistake on my behalf. But once we got married, 2 weeks after we got married, I actually left.
How old were you? How old were you when y'all got married?
That was about 2 years ago.
How old are you now?
I'm 34.
34. So you're old enough to get married.
Yes, sir.
All right, go ahead.
After we got married, it turned into an abusive situation where I didn't want to be getting beat on and stuff, and you know.
How long did you know him before you got married to him?
I only knew him for a week. Like I said, it was a mistake. It was a mistake.
I said, how long did you know him?
I only known him for that week.
For 1 week and got married?
And I thought he was okay because his work schedule, he'd go to work and he'd come home, and that's all I saw. I didn't see the rest. Once I got into the situation and
Why
saw
would you get married to someone who you've only known for 1 week?
it was a mistake, like I
I
said.
mean, why did you make that mistake? What was going
He
on?
was
with you?
really nice to me. I thought he was really a nice person. He's,
You gotta go through a period of infatuation or something. I mean, it takes more than a week, doesn't it?
no.
All right. Go ahead.
But, it was an honest mistake that I made, and I tried to correct the mistake by leaving him. And he just didn't want to stop with the calls. He bit my skull. I had dead tissue behind my eye where I had to have surgery, where I had a hole in my head, and I suffered from an aneurysm. And I'm just trying to put things that have happened in the past behind me, especially with something that's
If
going
you
on.
ain't known for 1 week before y'all got married, why is he still chasing and stalking and bothering you?
I'm not sure. I don't deal with him at all. I don't deal with Mr. Thames at all. After I left, Mr. Thames continued to call me with threats. If I don't be nice to him on the phone, he's going to threaten me. If I don't talk to him on the phone, he's going to come where I am. So it's like a give and take. You have to talk to him, or he's going to come where you are, and he's going to attack you. He has threatened me. He has threatened my children. He has came to he has never met my mother. He has never met any family member of mine that I have known. That if he met a family member of mine, even before I met him, he knows none of my family. We have no children, and we have never had any children, and we are not going to have any children. I don't want anything.
You're a Canty. You're from Lane, or where
Yes,
are you from?
yes.
A Lane Canty.
Yes.
All right. Which counties you come from? Who's your
My
mom?
grandmother's name is Miss Virginia Candy.
Virginia Canty.
I have an uncle named Robert. I have an uncle named Joe Nathan. I have an uncle named Moses.
How about Dolores?
That's my auntie.
Your auntie. All right. How are her boys doing? Some of them started being bad one time.
They're better.
Okay. All right.
I don't want anything else to do with Mr. Thames. I've actually filed for a divorce, and
Y'all still married?
yeah, I had 2 weeks after we got married. Once I got married, I came up here trying to get a divorce, but they told me I had to wait a year to get rid of them, so I had to like stay away for a year, and now it's back.
Is your last name Timms now?
No, I did not change my last
You
name.
changed your name.
But I didn't know whether he was unsure what the situation was with us, but because the more that I told him that I didn't want to be with him, it seemed like maybe there was a blockage, so I had to
What kind of wedding was that you all had at the funeral home after 1 week?
Well, people die at the funeral home.
Huh?
People dead at the funeral home. They don't live.
I know. So, who were your witnesses then?
It was one of his cousins. It was a mutual cousin that came. It was just something fast. Matter of fact, the day that we got married, I was crying. I didn't really want to get married, but I wasn't sure whether I wanted to get married. It was like a peer pressure thing of getting married. I knew I wanted to get married, but I wasn't sure. But then at the end of it, we still ended up getting married, and stuff happened, and I don't want nothing else to do with the situation.
How did Mr. Mitchum get involved in it?
I'm not sure.
That's Mr. Mitchum next to you?
Mm-hmm.
You don't know why he started bothering Mr. Mitchum?
I couldn't tell you. I have no dealings with Mr. Thames. I left, And after I left, that was the incident, the end of that.
Alright.
I wasn't supposed to have any contact with him for a whole year for my divorce, and that's what I'm waiting on. I want the situation to be over with.
All right, let me hear from Mr. Mitchell. Mr. Mitchell,
Yes, sir.
how you doing? You can lift that up and put it in your hand so I can hear you real good. Pick it up. All right, go ahead.
How y'all doing?
You're doing good.
Good. Well, I know Angelica for a while. And like she said, when she got married, 2 weeks after she got married, she came to my house on crutches. I wondering what's going on.
Came to your house on crutches.
Yeah. So I wondering what's going on there. She said her husband in a fight. So, we friends, that's it. So then later on, then he started talking, and then somehow he found my number. So he started calling me. When I answered him, the other time I didn't answer him, he called me about 100 times one night. It's on my phone, I save it all. Threatening my kids. All this. Come to my house and bust my window. I saw what he did. I saw when he went back to get his car. Then he called at me and said, I should the house down. Why you getting it down?
Where do you live?
Right there on Cedar Swamp.
Cedar Swamp?
Yes, sir.
All right.
And I knew he done all this. He brought by my house and she was done 3 times. I knew he done it.
But what's wrong with him?
What's wrong with him?
Yeah.
I don't know him. That boy don't know me. He say he know me, but he don't. I ain't never deal with him. He said he used to come to my house. That boy ain't never been to my house. Never did in his life. I knew his granddad and all of them, but I ain't know that boy there. Never seen him. Now why he bust my window and threatened me and my kids, I don't know. Now you can do anything to me, but my kids, bro, look at you passing up now. I don't know you. I don't know none of your kids. Don't make no sense. When you do this and I can't do nothing back to you, that's why I say I'd rather the police handle it. There's me and my nephew was sitting on a bench one day at my house. He was stuck at my leg and still come back and kill you. My nephew said, boy, why you want to know handle that? I said, no, I'm letting the police handle this. Now we sitting on our bench minding my business. She stuck his car in my lane.
Well, you haven't been able to figure out what's wrong with him, or anybody told you what's wrong with him? Or?
I couldn't tell you what's wrong with him. I reckon he's got a violence of doing that.
That's why I asked him when he decided he wanted to be a criminal. It started when he was 16, 17, and now here we are 17 years later.
My uncle passed. I couldn't even go to the set now. He brought everybody out of the yard because he thought my brother, that one of my cousins that was there, was me. He wanted to fight my cousin. Don't even know me. He don't know me.
He doesn't know. You don't know why he's mad at you.
I don't know why. Because I don't know. But me and AJ I was friends. Now all this threatening stuff he doing with me, that ain't called for.
Well, you think he'll settle down after 3 years in prison?
You
Or
need more than that.
you need more than 3?
You need more than 3.
Well, he's facing 3 years on each one. That's 3, 6, 9, plus 5 on this one. Well, 5 on 2 of them.
I'm at my house one night. My ex-wife mother-in-law called me and said, this man here down on the beach finna kill your son. So I called my son. My son said, I'm not on the beach. He finna kill somebody that he don't even know.
He's facing 5, 10, 13, 16 years. They recommended he get 3.
Well, he knew all 16 of them.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Mitchell. Mr. Barr.
Thank you, Your Honor. Your Honor, we've heard from the state, we've heard from the victims. I think you were asking Mr. Timms about what was true and what was not true.
Right.
I believe the one thing that we can maybe agree on is that Mr. Timms took this marriage and the relationship very seriously.
Who can agree on that?
Well, I believe we all can. He recalled the marriage date with.
We all, including me.
I would submit that after I'm done, I believe I can get you on that claim. But Your Honor, he perfectly recalled the marriage date. He said it was September 23rd. This was something that he was vested in.
Does he agree that he only knew her for 1 week before they got married?
He does not agree.
He does not agree.
He said, Mr. Timms is very adamant that he and Ms. Canty knew each other for some time, and just judging off the facts, Your Honor, we're not dealing with 2 minors, we're dealing with two adults who are both in their 30s. I have a hard time believing that someone, sound mind and body, 30 years old, just married somebody after 1 week. I do believe that they knew each other. I believe that Mr. Timms took the marriage very seriously. Mr. Timms is under the belief that his wife, and I say that, Your Honor, he believed that his wife was engaged in an extramarital affair. And I believe, Your Honor, you had tons of experience with this. Men will act in very dangerous and strange ways when they believe that their wife is seeing another man. Now, Mr. Timms, he made phone calls. He said a lot of things over the phone. He was upset. His heart was broken. His heart was hurting. And the other thing Mr. Timms is adamant about.
Why would he be brokenhearted so badly?
Well, Your Honor, they were both talking to each other. They were both they were both engaged with each other. They were both carrying on a relationship well on after the restraining order. And Your Honor, I believe whenever they get upset, then Ms. Timms falls back up, or sorry, Ms. Canty Timms, I don't know what her name is now.
She never took the name Tim. She's always been Canty.
Well, she seems
I can tell she's a Canty. She looked just like the Cantys, not the Lanes.
I believe Ms. Canty retreats back under the umbrella of the restraining order when it suits her. And when they're happy, they're happy. And when they're upset, Mr. Timms is going to go to jail and he's under restraining. He's accepted.
How many years do you think he should get?
I would strongly ask the court to follow the recommendation of the solicitor. At the end of the day, words are important. This is a business of words. But
No, but the solicitor in his words said that I gave Mr. Timms the maximum sentence the last time that he was before me for which crime again?
Failure to stop the blue light, Your Honor.
Failure to stop the blue light, which can be very egregious. I probably told him about the state trooper who got killed chasing someone on the blue light. And I think his was one which they just couldn't get him to stop. He was speeding all through Williamsburg County, if I recall it all correctly.
and Your Honor, we said it right. Mr. Timms.
So that was in 2015.
15.
Now we're 2021. He's facing 16 years.
He is, Your Honor, but in 6 years, he believed that he had found his quote-unquote soulmate. He was very much in love with Miss Canty. He took the marriage seriously, took the vow seriously, and when he believed that there was something extra going on, it put him into an emotional state, which, as we would all agree on this, he's made some very bad choices since all of this has happened. But we're dealing with words.
Sounds like he claimed her pretty fast.
Well, Your Honor, we may know. I mean,
They got married that fast, and he's all in love and jealous and out of control that fast.
well, Your Honor, that goes to my point. I believe that they knew each other for longer than a week. I think there's scientific proof you can't make that type of connection in a matter of 5 to 7 days. I mean,
Unless the person is totally unstable, who gets this infatuation or whatever it is that he might have gotten.
Well, Your Honor, we also believe too, and this is part of the plea discussion, but in these phone calls, it does not appear that Ms. Canty is at all afraid of Mr. Timms' calls. I mean, she's telling him, hey, I'm recording you. She's not hanging up the phone and calling 911. She's saying, hey, I'm recording you. She's listening to the calls.
I know the solicitor's got the video in his hand now.
I disagree with that characterization.
Yeah, because I never, ever told him on none of that I was recording him because I wouldn't want him to know that.
The solicitor has all of.
This is Christian News TY. I'm Tony Conyers. Is there any newsworthy events in Williamsburg County? We will get them to you as soon as possible. If not, you can follow us on Christian News TY Facebook. You can follow us on YouTube, and you can follow us on our website.
Christian News TY would like to thank you for watching. Please share.